Hey everyone, it's KerryPlays here and welcome to another video here on the channel. Today is a very special build. Instead of my usual building videos, I am building a house from a Resident Evil village. This is Ethan and Mia's house, who lives here with their daughter, little baby Rose. Now, this is not a tutorial on how to build it, and this isn't an exact replica. I am using what is available to me from the Sims 4 game and using graphics and images from the Resident Evil to recreate it in the game. I don't obviously have the same objects as a Resident Evil in the Sims 4, so I either use an object that is either the same size or color or shape or whatever I can find is nearest to it to replicate it here in this video. Now, if you don't know what Resident Evil Village is, it is a video game, and I do believe this is number 8 of the Resident Evil franchise. And your baby basically gets taken away and you want to go and find her, and you end up in this village with all the crazy people from what I can tell so far, and you end up fighting wolves, but they're all not normal wolves and people. They are all infected with something called the mold, from what I remember of some of the others. I haven't physically played this game myself. I mostly watch people play the horror games because if I play them myself, I feel like my heart would give out. So I prefer to watch, and I don't always fully follow the story and watch every single second and every single bit that they do. I just get hints and tidbits from it. So for me to be able to basically build this in the first place, my hubby got me to the house, Ethan and Mia's house, and then he told me if I went here it would activate a cutscene, so wait until the end to do that. So I went around the house and recorded the house very slowly, turning around, making sure I got everything in the video footage for me to be able to use to create the video here in the Sims 4. I will share this footage that I use for the house at the end of the video with my video tour. Now, I've never done this before, but I've actually split my screen in two to fit both the Sims 4 my tour of the Sims 4 build of the house and the Resident Evil footage underneath, and it is a little bit split up because I did end up accidentally doing some things backwards. So I do try my best for the tour of the video to be in line with the Resident Evil footage that I got, so do bear with me with that. It's the first time me using it, and I'm hoping I can do it pretty decent, but it's not going to be perfect. I'm hoping the more that I use the split screen to share both videos, the more I'll get used to it and be able to do it better. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure you do. So that is that. Now, obviously when I build these houses, it can be difficult. I do have my challenges because sometimes the build doesn't actually match up with me building in the Sims 4 of the footage that I get from the original game, which in this case is Resident Evil Village. So sometimes it does look a bit weird and a bit off, but you'll be able to see in a second when I go upstairs. I am currently in the kitchen slash open living area, so the downstairs is mostly open space, which I absolutely love about it. And we're going to go ahead here and put in the pantry to the build. Now, some of my items were massive, so I had to shrink them to make it look right because I felt the room would have been too overwhelming and the tour would have made it look wrong. So as I said before, I'm just trying to use items that are similar or look the same or the same color to represent what is in the Resident Evil Village footage for me to recreate it. It was difficult. My challenge was the living room. I'm gonna admit my challenge was the living room because it dips down into a floor. Now, we can finally do that in the Sims 4, but The only thing is, it's supposed to be connected to a room. Now, with the way that I was building, I was playing the footage, pausing it when the frame changed, and building what I could see, which is why I build a part of the wall, part of the floor, and then fix it in, if you get what I'm saying. Usually when I normally build in The Sims 4, I build the rooms first and then I renovate the home, but obviously re-replicating a house, you don't know how big that wall needs to be or how long it needs to be and all that stuff. Also, the upstairs landing way was a little bit challenging. So the piece at the top of the stairs has a seating area with a table, and it didn't match up to what was being built when you turned around and went down the hallway. So I kind of had to squeeze it into the space so it looked right. It was more about the look rather than getting it to work and fit. I didn't want it to look wrong between the tour from The Sims 4 and the tour from Resident Evil. Now in my game, I cannot put those huge massive arches that you're going to see in the tour build, so I use these columns all over the house to represent where those arches should be. Now I do want to apologize because when I start doing the dining room table, for some unknown reason my brain overthought the high chair. Now we do have high chairs in The Sims 4, but they're not as good as the one in Resident Evil, and for some unknown reason my brain just completely left it out. I didn't put that in, and I don't understand why I didn't put that in, because I knew we have high chairs, but I knew we didn't have that kind of high chair that you will see in the footage. So my brain forgot about that. We also do not have a lot of baby items like the nappies and the bottles and things. So where they were placed in the Resident Evil Village video, I used toys that were available to us from The Sims 4 instead. It took me about 4 hours and 5 minutes to complete the build over a period of 2 days, and then I obviously have to go in and add in the video footage, which is there. I just got to edit it all into the right places and try and keep up with myself in my Sims 4 tour video, which I'm hoping I won't do too much of a bad job, but I know it won't be a great job due to the fact that it's the first time I'm able to split a video on top of each other and show you both the Resident Evil and The Sims 4 tour of the house. There's a little nook over here I really like. Now obviously this is a fireplace for The Sims 4, and I don't actually think it's that big in the Resident Evil, but it was the only one that represented the Resident Evil one really well and didn't make it look too wrong. So you will see that obviously again in the tour. Now this house, it really loves plants, like really. I have never ever used so many plants in a Sims 4 build whatsoever. So I'm like, oh my, they really like their plants here. A lot of the floors were the same. I think there was only 2 floors. So here, this is where I was explaining that I forgot to put the high chair in, and it should be at the end of the table there next to the trolley thing. And I was like, why didn't I put just any high chair in place instead? But my brain apparently overlooked that for some unknown reason. It did take me a while to decide on the curtains for these living rooms because nothing wasn't looking right for what was in the Resident Evil. And I do believe in the tour that the plant before coming down into the living room is missing. I think the Sims 4 game, when I came back into the build, had stolen it. So I do apologize for that being missing, but as you can see, I did definitely put it there. Also, there was a lot of clocks on the walls that were mostly grandfather clocks, but our grandfather clocks in The Sims 4 are the floor ones. So I decided to use that big brass bronze looking one instead to represent grandfather's clock. This is where I talk about where the living room goes a little bit odd. So there are stairs going up to this room, but the exit of the living room into the hallway does not match up in The Sims 4, because this wall actually should be a bit longer and the door frame should be further down, but obviously when you're on the other side in the hallway it would definitely be in the wrong place. So we kind of had to jiggy it and work it around like I have done. I also cannot actually place open doors in The Sims 4, so I had to use the bb.move object cheat. The Simmers will know what I mean, for those of you watching for the Sims build, and I had to levitate the doors over the stairs, which were also difficult. And then at first I decided to put the door on back to front. I was like, that is not a door, that is definitely not a door. Now what happens is, if I was to finish off that wall and connect it to the house, the whole living room disappears, all of it. So I had to do a little trick with it and build it with one square left, and then build a single piece of wall by itself away from the house and not touching any of the other walls, and move it into place to trick the game in thinking it's a full build. Now this is the piece I was telling you about. You're going to see me from now on going back and forth up and down the stairs, because a lot of the items that we used were repeated. So it was just easier to go down and get them back from where I'd already originally got them. So in the video, this space looks fine as it is, as I'm building it right now. There's a typewriter on there. The only typewriter that we have is in a glass case, so we just use that. And I think there were some figures on there, but I couldn't find any, so I didn't use any. But yeah, this is how this area looks. But when you turn around to go down to the landing, it's 4 squares. If we're using Sim squares, it's 4 squares wide, and that's way too wide for the landing to be going down, because the landing is only 2. So we had to pull it all back and squeeze it in together. This is where I'm rebuilding the landing here, and I'm like, this is way not big enough. And that obviously arch leading down to the main bedroom was going to be in the wrong place, and I didn't want it to look bad. I didn't want it to be off from what the Resident Evil Village video was giving me, so we squeezed it all into this area here, and I think I did a pretty good job considering, but it should be a lot more cozier than what it is. I did do a platform here because there is a sofa going to be put there, because there is one there in the Resident Evil Village footage. Another thing that was a problem was a lot of the shelves were built into the wall, and we can't do that in The Sims 4, so I had to use bookshelves, and obviously they stuck out from the wall because I wasn't able to do that, but that's okay. I think I didn't do too bad. And there is a unit here that is in front of the sofa, and then we've got a trillion plants again, because why not? And this room, where the door is, leads into a room that is currently storage that Mia and Ethan need to work on. They haven't lived here long. I think it's 6 months. But correct me if I'm wrong, for those of you that have played Resident Evil Village. I'm sure it's 6 months, but I could be wrong. This bathroom is absolutely huge. We don't have a shower like we do in the Resident Evil, so I used a glass one that represented it the best I could from the Resident Evil. I do like this bathroom though, it is quite nice. I think, oh, I needed to add the toilet roll, but our toilet roll clicks onto the wall. We can't add it onto the sides of cabinets, so I had to take the wall out to make it float there, and then add the wall back in. This is at the end of the small corridor I was telling you about that didn't go right once you turned around and went down the hallway. So this is, it's just a seat, basically a little table and a cabinet of some sort, and the only weird window in the house, because none of the others were the same as this window whatsoever. And then there'll be a door put in there, and that will lead into Mia's and Ethan's house. No, we're in the house, sorry, into their bedroom, which is also where baby Rose sleeps as well. and then into the bedroom will lead into an office. So now I'm in the room that I was telling you about that is storage that they need to do a lot of work on. This room also didn't work out well with the floor plans. The room needed to be 1 or 2 squares wider, but as you can tell on the right side of the build is the landing, and I can't move that because that's in place where it works with the video, and I couldn't go over the other side to the left 2 more tiles because the door would have been in the wrong place. It wouldn't have looked right with the door. So I think I just shrunk items to get them to fit in places so it looked right. Obviously, for those that are here watching for the Sims video, this house won't be playable. Probably not playable. If it is playable, it's probably just going to be the main features of the house anyway. This room definitely won't be playable because I'm sure I shrunk the bed. And possibly not the office, and possibly not the main bedroom. They'll be able to get into the bed and that, but there's a possibility it won't work. Now, we don't have cots in The Sims 4 for babies, so I use a toddler bed to represent baby Rose's cot. And this corner, this is the corner where I realized it was completely out because there should be a lot of boxes here, and there was at least, I think there was 3 stacks of boxes here in the corner, and it just wasn't going well. So I had to again squeeze all of those. Now I have randomly placed a lamp on the floor there. You could totally see it, but I didn't realize it was actually there until I was doing the tour of the video. So my little random lamp placement is also in the tour, but let's just pretend that it's not there, okay? And then this is just another clutter corner, and we've got the wardrobe and the random chair and all the boxes and things that they need to sort through. We are now in Mia and Ethan's room, and little baby Rose will be going in here as well. This gets changed a little bit in a minute because it's the wrong size, and the bed is too close to the bookshelf area and it's not in the video, so I have to move everything back, which is what I'm doing right now. And then we go around. There's another angled wall that I have to place in that I didn't know. I thought it was straight, so that's why it's all, I don't build the rooms to guess what's going to be happening with them. I build what I can see. The office area will be put in a second when I put that door in, so the office will go behind there. And again, all the trillions of plants that they use. Some of the bookcases I ended up using the same of for the look of how they're supposed to look and feel for the build, and some of them just have to stick out of the wall because that was the best thing I could do. Now obviously that fireplace isn't going to actually be in the upstairs to Ethan and Mia's house, but I can't remove it because it's for part of the fireplace from downstairs. And if I would have made my walls higher, it would have made the room look wrong. So I wasn't able to do that. So we're just going to pretend that you can't see the fireplace top there. And it's just a plant, the baby's bed, and a lamp instead. And this is also the first room that I had to change colour on. So far I was using a white wall with a brown skirting board and the flower wall, and then all of a sudden in this room we're using a blue. We've got blue on the wall. I was like, oh my goodness, a change of wallpaper, how lovely. So in the built-in areas, I was telling you about the built-in shelving areas, there is flower wallpaper behind them, and that's why there are random pieces of those around the house, because they are representing the built-in shelving places that are around. Now finally, moving on to the office. I do believe I had a little bit of struggle with this, with the table that ends up going underneath the window. I just couldn't find the right one and get it right, so I took out a lot of that footage where I was messing around with it so that it didn't take up unnecessary room. And this desk obviously took me a little bit as well to get organized, or messably organized. I did originally do this and then I swap it out for a big stereo thing that we have that represented the vinyl space that was in Resident Evil Village better. And again, the random plants, all the things. Again, another grandfather's clock on the wall, but I had to put this one up there to represent that floating wall. That's where I was telling you about the table. I did a lot of different things and I just gave it with it in the end. Again, a lot of the same rows, just different colors. These were what worked best. And then this room also seemed a little squashed. I feel it should have gone one space further back, but when I did that, it didn't look right at all, so I just pulled it back in and left it as it was. And as you can tell, the shape, you got a quick glance there of how the house is. Now this is the last little bit of the Resident Evil build, so that's wonderful. And then we're going to go ahead and head into my tour of the build and the Resident Evil Village tour of the build as well. They are on top of each other, and I'm hoping to get the footage right where I can share that with you. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are still here, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this content. I will be bringing out some more special builds because May is my anniversary month, so stay tuned for those, as well as some new pack things for The Sims coming up as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to leave your comments down below of how you think I replicated the house. Did I do it well? Did I not? Was it rubbish? Anything will do, and I will see you all soon. Bye for now.